He could still get you 15 points right now. Jamal Crawford, Turner Sports NBA analyst, sixth man of the year. He won it 3 times. Back on the program. Jamal, good to talk to you again. Explain to me the brilliance of the Joker as a passer. So if you're a guard and you're playing with him, how does your role change because he's your best passer? He's your playmaker.
Well, you play off of him, obviously, but you cut with more intent. Everybody loves playing with a guy who'll pass the ball, right? You're going to cut harder. You're going to run harder. He does all the thinking for you. And it's amazing because he's one of the smartest players to ever play. I know we're all saying, centers, where's he going to end up at and how unique is he? But you can put his basketball intelligence up there with Magic, LeBron, Bird, anybody that's ever played. He's playing a whole different game. Oh, yeah, he's doing it from 7 feet. So he's different.
But how is he different? How did this happen?
I would have to ask him. I mean, I saw Grant ask him last night who he watched because you try to emulate who you watched growing up. But the way he was taught the game is different than how we teach it now. Now we say, can you get in your bag? And it's more individualized. He plays basketball from the team perspective. He's just as happy, Dan, if he takes no shots and has 20 assists and they're winning because everybody's involved and everybody's happy. And you can tell he lives his life that way as well.
But also, I was wondering about that. If Jimmy Butler has only taken 12 or 14 shots, that's trouble for the Heat. But I saw Joker take 12 shots. I didn't think that reflected poorly on Denver's performance. It's almost like you have to encourage him. And the example I used was Steve Nash. Mike D'Antoni would have to tell Nash to be offensive because he was a great shooter there. Magic is one of those guys that didn't have to score to dominate a game. And it feels like Joker, who averages 30, doesn't have to score and still dominate a game. I mean, that's really, really rare in today's game.
And that's why nobody can figure him out. He's working backwards. So he puts his brain into the game before he even does anything actively to score, anything actively to get up and down. His brain's so far ahead of everybody else's. He would be a joy to play with because he's one of the all-time greats, but he's going to make you look just as good. Very few players can make guys look just as good without everything revolving around them and taken away from them.
Okay.
Everybody.
If you're giving a pep talk to the Miami Heat, you would say what going into game 2?
Fellas, we only lost by 11, even though it's a little worse than that, obviously. But we just have to do what we do. We have to keep them guessing. We have to pick up the pace a little bit more. We have to make shots. Our 3 best shooters shot 2 for 23, and Duncan, Strus, and Martin. I don't think they'll shoot 2 for 23 again, especially 2 for 16 from 3. So I would be encouraged and say, you know what? We came here to get one. Let's go get one.
Jamal, I don't understand this, and I bring this up with every guest that we have when we talk about the NBA. You're missing threes, you keep shooting threes. At what point do you get to the hoop? Do you get a couple of free throws? Do you get somebody in foul trouble? I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either, Dan. The thing that baffles my mind is the fact that we talk about analytics and it's frowned upon. In the playoffs, every point is almost worth 2 because they're so hard to come by. Why not? If I told you, Dan, you know what? If you go this route right here, it's going to take you 55 minutes. Waze is saying go this route, but you'll get there in 55 minutes. I can take you a different way. It's probably not as, sexy to get there, but you'll get there in 30 minutes. Which way are you going to go? Like analytically, we're saying take these threes. And to be honest, I think that's what Boston fell prey to as well last series because they just kept doing it. We've seen Houston do it in the past when they had, Harden, that really good team. Get every point that counts. I don't care if it's a free throw, a mid-range, or a 3-point. The best player I've ever seen dominating the mid-range area, and that was Michael Jordan. So I don't understand why that wouldn't be as important in the playoffs.
And KD as well. KD's made a Hall of Fame career out of that mid-range jumper. And I'm just saying, get something. It feels like, I go back to the series with the Lakers and the Nuggets. LeBron settled for the 3. It's easier to take the 3. It's hard work to get to the hoop, to get fouled, to get knocked down. But that's why when people say, the free throw discrepancy last night, I said, well, look at the shots Miami took and look at the shots Denver took. That's why they shot 18 more free throws than Miami.
Exactly. And Dan, will we appreciate Jimmy Butler as much if he didn't play in the mid-range area? Will we appreciate Kevin Durant as much? Like Kobe Bryant as much? Some of the best players who have ever played and are playing right now dominate that area. It's equivalent to the jab in boxing. It has to keep you honest. Just like you want to shoot threes, the defense knows you want to shoot threes and get layups as well. So they're going to make it a little bit more difficult on you.
Yeah, that's what I wondered with Boston. At some point, you have to say, we're just not making our shots. Go back to John Starks when he was, the Knicks against Houston, and he just kept shooting threes. And I'm going, you got to stop at some point, or at least the coach has to say, take it to the hoop.
Dan, I'm 10th all time in threes, and I wouldn't just keep firing them up. We got to get something easy, a mid-range. It resets you, right? It gets you back on track and get your team back on track. And also, it's not allowing them to get easy baskets, but long shots are long rebounds. They're going to get easy baskets at some point.
We're talking to Jamal Crawford, Turner Sports NBA analyst, and played 20 seasons in the NBA. When you start to look at game plans here and understand, okay, Miami did this against Boston or did this against Philadelphia, does Miami have a game plan that they can go, let's implement that and we can beat Denver? Is it more about their offense or their defense against Denver?
That's a great question. Well, I think offensively you have to score. Those guys have to make shots for you to even have a chance. I just think through all the runs, right, that Spo's had, that the Heat have had over the years, and Spo's an all-time great coach, I just don't think they've seen his players unique. Even Duncan, right, when they played against him in the finals, he was an unbelievable player, one of the best players ever, but I'm not sure he was picking guys apart the same way Joker is, as unique as you can use Joker. And he's just a different type of problem. And he's happy doing that. Like most guys, like, I didn't get my 20 tonight. I don't care if we won or lost. He's like, we didn't win tonight, brother. I want to get everybody going. And that part right there is what makes him a different type chess player.
If you are coaching the 76ers, you're Nick Nurse.
Okay.
Do you want James Harden back?
You want as much talent as possible, but you want James Harden back that's healthy, that's rejuvenated, a guy that's, going to buy into whatever the plan is going forward. But when you get that kind of talent, you have to take that kind of talent. But it's Harden's decision, so we'll see what he feels about, the change going forward.
Yeah, but I thought, and I complimented him throughout the year, that he bought into a role. His role was to make Embiid the best player in the game, and he did that. But he gets to the postseason. Is he a great – there's certain guys I feel like are great regular season players, and there are certain guys who are great postseason players. Why is Harden not a great postseason player?
That's the question. And I think that's the maddening part, because we know it's not talent. His talent is undeniable, things he's brought to the game. Sometimes I think he may just overthink a little bit, because obviously things are heightened. Things are a little bit more difficult, but you're James Harden. You average 36 for a season, and you led the league in scoring 3 times, you led the league in assists a couple of different times. So that can translate, especially the way you're doing it. I just think he gets in his way a little bit. And I thought the way they were ending the season, he was primed to have one of those big performances. And he did when Joel was out. When he came back, he kind of went back to revert a little bit.
I've been in my get off my lawn mode today because of guys who carry the ball. Like watching Jason Tatum, he carries the ball every single time. And I'm thinking maybe it started with Iverson, maybe Stockton, but now we've allowed it. I'm sure your son, when you're watching these kids play AAU, high school, now it's allowed. Why?
You know what? A lot of things are allowed. It's maddening to me, because and now, like you said, being in this AAU world with so many different players and so many different things we're seeing, I make my son watch, and I make our team watch film, not just highlights and not just clips, but I want them to really learn the game. And sometimes when things are allowed, they're like, well, coach, this guy just took 4 steps. How you going to tell me? I'm like, it was still a rule. It wasn't called that time. So I'm fighting that battle as well, especially when you're teaching young guys, because I feel like we have a responsibility to show them the right way. So I would love for things to tighten up. I would love for some of the physicality to come back. Not only in the playoffs, but the regular season as well. So stuff can mean a little bit more, and we can teach them the right way.
I just can't imagine if I can't put a body on Jordan and I allow Michael Jordan to carry the ball. I mean, Jamal, he's averaging 45 a game.
Oh, if he's being nice, he's averaging 45. I'm taking this personal mode. It can get higher than that. Like it's unbelievable, because we are seeing the best players in the world. We want to see them at their best, but we want to see them all, with an equal playing field.
Now, you didn't feel bad for him. Like, you're facing Jordan when he was on the Wizards.
Yes.
And you were on the Bulls.
Yes.
But you're not facing Michael Jordan. You're facing the artist formerly known as Michael Jordan.
Well, Dan, let me say this. In the Wizards, he was 39 years old. We can look this up. Before he had the knee injury, him and Kobe Bryant were the only players averaging 25 points and 5 assists at that point in the season. So he wasn't Michael Air Jordan, but he was still Michael Jordan. Average 40 years old, taking a couple years off, and average 25 and 5. You're still something different.
Yeah, that's why I marvel at LeBron. I mean, that is a real high level, Jamal. And that to me is the greatest. And he's probably played 3 seasons of playoff basketball. If you factor that in, the number of games on that body, how much longer do you think LeBron can play? And maybe not pay, and play at a great level, not a role player.
Yeah, you know what? I think he has another 2 to 3 seasons. He averaged 30 this year. He averaged just about 30 points this year. And so I'm not sure his mind would want to stay in it. That's the more impressive part to me, is to be at that level for that long mentally.
Yeah.
Because there's no days off. It's like going to the boxing match. When you're Mayweather or Ali, you have to be so sharp. One wrong move, something can go. You have to be engaged. Young guys are coming at you every single night. Oh, yeah, and you're competing against yourself because they're going to say, oh, he wasn't LeBron of 2016 or whatever they might say. You know what I mean? So to be that mentally engaged every single time, that to me is even more impressive.
What's LeBron, 4 years younger than you?
Is he? 30. Yeah, he's about 4 or 5 years younger. 38, right? 38, 39.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew him when he was in high school, Dan.
What did you think when you saw him in high school?
He was so mature and so polished. So when I was playing with Jordan, we were closest in age because he came up in high school and was playing with us as well. So that's when we first met. And I met Mav and Rich and all those guys way back then. But he was so mature and so curious, and he was so polished. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I knew he would be a really good pro. I had zero idea he would be this good because they were saying chosen one back then. So the fact that he surpassed expectations 10 years ago. So and he's still adding to his legacy. It's unbelievable.
I wonder the competitor in Jordan, that Jordan wanted him with the Nike brand back then. I'm guessing when he was in high school.
I'm sure he did. Jordan always is trying to bring the best to his side. So I'm sure he did. The competitor in him, I'm sure he was a little upset he missed out at some point.
Yeah. I remember seeing, but Paulie, was that LeBron's phone and the first image you see on your phone? It was LeBron versus Jordan.
Yeah, he had a screensaver. So
he created a screensaver. It's him against Michael, and he showed it to me at the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. Like this is what it would have looked like if I was going to get. But I think Michael even said, I couldn't stop LeBron if he wanted to go to his right and get to the hoop. I wouldn't be able to stop him. And that's coming from Mike, who never gave an inch to anybody.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. And he's known LeBron since LeBron was in high school. Dan, let me ask you, what was the first thing you thought of him when you saw LeBron?
Well, I saw him in a football game in high school.
Oh, okay.
And I went, that guy he's bigger than Randy Moss.
Yes.
But he's as athletic as Randy Moss. And then when I saw him play, because I saw him play in a playoff game in high school, and everybody on the team was about 6 feet, and then LeBron was 6'8". And he was the one who did all the passing. It just stood out. It was one of those where I just never forget how giving he was. And these are the little guys. He could average as whatever he wanted, but it was so important for him to pass the ball. And that thought never left me with LeBron.
I played against him one time. I was at the Garden, and he was in Cleveland. And this is a true story, Dan. I can dribble pretty good, right? I get ripped at half court, and I said, that had to be a guard. I turned around, and LeBron was dang near taking off right inside the free throw. I said, there's no way that guy that big ripped me like that. He took off like a rocket. I'll never forget that. I thought it was a guard. I thought it was Eric Snow or somebody. And he took off like a rocket. He was gone. Unbelievable.
Yeah, good to talk to you as always. You survived Boston, the atmosphere, Game 7. It started out with great atmosphere.
It you know what? It really hurt. And we just talked about guys who really show up in the playoffs. It really hurt that Tatum got hurt that first play because he's one of those big time performers. He doesn't let you down in the biggest moments. He'll go for it. And that, Kobe's his favorite player ever. And he definitely took a page out of his book. He'll go for it if things are on the line. And so I was really disappointed from a fan perspective that he wasn't healthy. But what I do like is I felt like the two best teams that play team basketball, Miami and Denver, are still left playing. I hope that comes back in the fold for kids.
It's tough to to try to adopt the Kobe mentality, Mamba mentality, right? I mean, you got to be wired differently. Tatum can want to be that. He's not wired the way Kobe was.
But there's no halfway with it. Like if you say this is it's the way you live, it's the way you train, it's the way you approach life. And for anybody out there, when they say Mamba mentality, it's a way of life. It's not just a saying, that's for sure.
Do you have a Kobe story I never heard before?
Kobe story. You know what, Dan? I'm gonna give you one. It's a true story. I've said this anyway. His last year in the league, he was actually, and we're close in age. He was actually texting me to see how I was still moving so quick. And I could not believe it. I was like, hold on, this is Kobe Bryant. This is the best player I played against, one of the best players ever, still trying to, be more curious and try to figure things out. And I'm just a sixth man, right? Like this guy is the guy. So the fact he was asking me what I was doing for quickness and agility and recovery, and like he wanted to know a full detailed thing. So
and did you tell him?
Absolutely. He's one of my favorites. I had to tell him. And it was his last year. So I definitely gave him everything I had.
Great to talk to you as always. Thanks for your insights. We appreciate the stories, Jamal.
You as well. Thanks for having me, Dan.
That's Jamal Crawford, Turner Sports NBA analyst and 3-time Sixth Man of the Year.